Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I am your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Mr. Perez is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants here in Puerto Vallarta. Those are the Lapa Lapa, the El Dorado Beach Club, and at night, that El Dorado transforms into the romantic Vista Grill with dramatic views of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors. And of course, at Lapa Lapa, you can enjoy that same view of the Los Muertos Pier all day long for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week you are going to be meeting Andreas Rupprechter from one of my favorite restaurants, favorite places in Puerto Vallarta to eat, Kaiser Maximilian. And you will also meet a gentleman named Benjamin. He's a Shoeshine Man on the Malecon. But first, there's a lot happening in Puerto Vallarta. It's a big, big day today. Let's see what's happening this week, the 31st of May, 2018. It is the big day. Today is the 100th anniversary of the naming of the city once known as El Carrizal and Las Peñas to Puerto Vallarta. So off to the wiki pages for a little history, but just a bit of a review for those of you who have followed the show from the beginning. In 1918, the village of Las Peñas was elevated to the municipality status and renamed after former state governor Ignacio Vallarta. Now, during the early years of the 20th century, most of Puerto Vallarta was actually owned by Union in Quale Company, controlled by an American named Alfred Geist. And Geist sold land only in large plots at prices that were quite high for the time. And then he otherwise leased land on short-term leases. Now, in order to remedy this situation and to enable the new municipality to develop, the citizens petitioned the government for a land grant based on the new Mexican Constitution's provisions. So in 1921, a local agrarian commission approved a grant of some 23,000 acres, or 36 square miles, with the land to be expropriated from the Union and Quale Company. And then the grant was established as an ejido holding, which is a farming cooperative administered by the government. But legal squabbling over the size of the land grant and the ejido status of the properties involved would actually stymie growth in Puerto Vallarta into the 1960s. Developers were reluctant to build anything too substantial on land for which one could not obtain clear title, of course. And as we know, ejido land is controlled by individuals who are given licenses to use it, but it couldn't be sold or subdivided or leased. Now, I didn't know this, but during the Cristero War, which took place between 1926 and 1929, Puerto Vallarta was twice taken over by Cristero forces, once in April of 1927 and again in January of 1928. Now, to review this, let's go over what the Cristero War was, or the Cristero Rebellion was. This was back in 1926 through 1929. It was also known as La Cristada, and it was a widespread struggle in many central Western Mexican states against the secularist, anti-Catholic, and anti-clerical policies of the Mexican government. The rebellion was set off by the enactment under President Plutarco Elias Calles of a statute to enforce the anti-clerical articles of the new Mexican Constitution of 1917. They were also known as Calles Law. So, President Calles sought to eliminate the power of the Catholic Church and organizations affiliated with it as an institution, and also to suppress popular religious celebrations in local communities. The massive popular rural uprising was tacitly supported by the church's hierarchy and was aided by urban Catholic support. And in the end, U.S. Ambassador Dwight W. Morrow brokered negotiations between Calles' government and the church. The government made concessions, and then the church withdrew its support for the Cristero fighters, and then the conflict ended in 1929. Now, the effects of the war on the church were profound. Between 1926 and 1934, at least 40 priests were killed. There were 4,500 priests serving the people before the rebellion, but by 1934, there were only 334 licensed by the government to serve 15 million people. The rest of the priests had been eliminated by immigration, expulsion, assassination, and so forth. And by 1935, 17 Mexican states had no priests at all. Now, I also found it interesting, being a Los Angelino myself, that at the end of the Cristero War, it actually affected emigration to the United States. In the aftermath of their defeat, many of the Cristeros, by some estimates as much as actually 5% of the Mexican population, fled to America, in other words, to the United States. Many of them made their way to my place, to Los Angeles, where they found a protector in a man named John Joseph Cantwell. He was the bishop of what was then the Los Angeles-San Diego Diocese. And under Archbishop Cantwell's sponsorship, the Cristero refugees became a substantial community in Los Angeles, California. In 1934, actually staging a parade some 40,000 strong through the city, believe it or not. Imagine that. So, all right, where was I? How did I get off on this tangent? Oh yeah, let's get back to Vallarta history. Okay, so during the Cristero War, which took place between, like I said, 1926 and 1929, Puerto Vallarta was twice taken over by Cristero forces, once in April of 1927 and again in January of 1928. And after it was recaptured for the second time, the national government stationed a small garrison under Major Angel Ocampo, and the garrison was stationed near the mouth of the Quale River, and they were responsible for actually planting many of the palm trees that now line the beaches near the mouth of the Quale River. They planted them there to help limit beach erosion during the heavy rains in October of 1928. Now, one casualty of these skirmishes back there in the Cristero War was a local pastor, Padre Ayala, who was exiled to Guadalajara for his role in fomenting the local revolt in Puerto Vallarta. And he died in Guadalajara in 1943, though his remains were returned 10 years later to Puerto Vallarta, and they were interred in the main parish church of Our Lady of Guadalupe. How about that? Anyway, I have a link in the show notes for this and many other articles regarding the Cristero War and regarding some of this history. So getting back to the history of Vallarta, Oh boy, that was a deep, deep rabbit hole, wasn't it, you guys? Okay. As mining activities in the Sierras waned in the early years of the 20th century, Puerto Vallarta and the agricultural valley to the north of the city became important destinations for those leaving the Sierra towns and looking for a place to settle. And many of those who arrived had family members already living in Puerto Vallarta, and the pattern of the migration that ensued turned the town into a collection of more or less extended families, giving it the cohesion of a typical Sierra town. Now, a couple of dates for firsts here in Puerto Vallarta that I should talk about. The first airplane service arrived in 1932, with electrical service on small scale arriving about the same time. The first suspension bridge over the Quale went up in 1933. The city's first plumbing system was started in 1939. And in 1942, Puerto Vallarta was finally connected by road to Compostela. Until then, the only way to get to Puerto Vallarta was either by sea or by air or by mule trains to the Sierra towns. Also in 1942, in the New York-based magazine Modern Mexico, the first advertisement for a Puerto Vallarta vacation appeared, sponsored by the Air Transport Company of Jalisco. And by 1945, the company was landing DC-3s in Puerto Vallarta, carrying 21 passengers each plane. In 1956, the Mascota Mule Trail was replaced by a packed dirt road. In 1958, 24-hour electrical generation arrived in Vallarta. A new airport arrived in 1962, connecting Puerto Vallarta with Los Angeles via Mazatlan, and the Mexican Aviation Company began offering package trips to Puerto Vallarta. And by early 1960s, the population had started to spread beyond Centro and Gringo Gulch and the colonias of 5th of December, north of Centro, of course, and the Emiliano Zapata, south of the river. That area began to grow. Then American director John Huston filmed his famous movie, Night of the Iguana, in 1964, down in Mismaloya, which is a small town south of Puerto Vallarta. And during the filming, the U.S. media gave extensive coverage to Elizabeth Taylor's extramarital affair with Richard Burton, as well as covering the frequent fighting between Houston and the film's 4 stars. The subsequent publicity helped put Puerto Vallarta on the map for U.S. tourists. The Mexican federal government finally resolved their century-old property disputes of land that had communal status. Land the federal government had appropriated from the Union in Quale Mining Company to be parceled out as communal farms. The land communal ejido status had really stifled development in the town for much of the 20th century. A significant transition of commercial lands into private ownership within present Puerto Vallarta city limits took place only in 1973 with the establishment of the Vallarta Land Trust to oversee the selling of government land into private hands and using the sales revenue to develop the city's infrastructure and so forth. And so the rest is history, my friends. Wow, that was a long way to go, but there you have it. So what's happening right now for the 100-year celebration? Well, today is the big day. There are going to be parades. You're going to have Pepe Aguilar in concert at 11 o'clock over on the Malecon. Fireworks are going to start at 1:30 in the morning. And it's just going to be a fun time. You're going to be partying Mexican style. It's going to be a great time. And if you listened last week and you heard from Jim Dimitro, he and his daughter Christina Dimitro are going to be unveiling their new sculpture, The Fisherman. And that's going to take place today at 7:30 in the evening on the Malecon at Manuel Diegues, between Langostina's Restaurant and Hotel Playa Los Arcos. It's going to be right there. After that, of course, they are going to have a reception over at Galleria Dimitro over on Lazaro Cardenas. So if you'd like to be there for the unveiling, that's going to happen at 7:30. Like I said, go over there between Langostinos and Playa Los Arcos, over on that street there on Manuel Dieguez, and they will be having that ceremony then. And then go have some dinner, and then, maybe go to the reception, have some dinner, and then get ready for lots and lots and lots of partying. It's going to be a great time, an exciting time to be in Puerto Vallarta, albeit it's a hot day, but an exciting time. So I have information in the show notes for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. You want to check those out. And anyway, last week I was talking about efforts to legalize pot in Mexico, a la California and Colorado. And I talked about the nationwide marches in support of changing the law in Mexico. And at that time, I broached the subject of whether or not it should be a good idea or would be a good idea for a foreigner to protest or demonstrate in Mexico. Whether or not you'd be inviting, an invitation to leave the country if you did it, So I did a little research, and I found this little article in the Yucatan Times dated July 11th, 2016, and it's titled, "Should Expats in Mexico Get Involved in Political and Civil Matters?" And it reads, there are many issues expats are very passionate about, and there was a time we were willing to put ourselves in a position of discomfort to defend, placate, and protect. However, the level of distress attained when standing up for one's beliefs should be taken into very serious consideration when visiting foreign soils, including Mexico, of course. It goes on, Mexico does not look fondly upon visitors involving themselves in political and civil matters. If one's curiosity goes beyond this basic blog, one can check out the Mexican Constitution. Now, there are those who believe that they are protected by the Constitution due to their permanent immigration status, which simply isn't the case. The Mexican Constitution also makes it very clear that Mexicans shall have priority over foreigners under equality of circumstances for all classes of concessions. So, if you have any notions about suing your landlord, employer, or anyone you feel you have a bone to pick with, enter into your debate with the knowledge that he or she will most likely be awarded the meat of the bone if they are Mexican by birth and you are not. Participating in protests for animals and causes seems like a noble thing to do, but it can get you in a heap of unwanted attention. Making statements about politicians, protesting the treatment of animals, getting involved in labor disputes are all precarious pastimes for some expats living in Mexico, and there have been many who have left with a one-way ticket and stories to tell. In 2015, more than 2,000 Americans were deported from Mexico. Many of these cases involve people who had lived in the country for extended periods of time, even years. Any small incident, and the authorities ask for one's travel documents and identification, and if they don't prove current data allowing one to be in the country, one will luckily have time to pack a bag. It keeps on going. It says, a good warning to the wise is to make sure that one's visas are up to date, keep one's opinions to oneself, and obey all laws, no matter how emotional the situation. So, all right. So let's go ahead and read in the Mexican Constitution, Article 33. It goes, the federal executive shall have the exclusive power to compel any foreigner whose remaining he may deem inexpedient to abandon the national territory immediately and without the necessity of previous legal action. It also states foreigners may not in any way participate in the political affairs of the country. Now, there are many who disagree with this interpretation of the law, like this guy, who writes, and, again, I'm doing all this research for you guys. Okay. It says, because of a legacy of U.S. intervention in Mexican affairs, Mexico enacted the legislation, Article 33, guarantees foreigners all the same rights that attach to Mexican citizens, including freedom of expression. Thus, some Mexican jurists interpret Article 33, prohibition on political activity, strictly as applicable only to illegal voting or to party proselytism. All other political involvement, according to this interpretation, would be legal. Okay, But then there's this article, and it reads, foreigners cannot engage in political activity. The Mexican Constitution states very clearly that foreigners shall not in any way involve themselves in political matters of the country. This is emphatically interpreted to mean that foreigners do not have the right to vote, run for public office, or participate in any political event, rally, or demonstration. Additionally, foreigners should stay away from all political activity, including any kind of demonstrations or protest, even if you think that it's seemingly non-political. Engaging in these kinds of activities is a good way to be asked to leave the country. So there's all of these different articles. What do? I called my friend, of course, and friend of the show, Felix Zarate. He is our lawyer. He is our abogado on call. And I asked him about the law and what he thought about foreigners protesting or demonstrating in Mexico. And here's what Felix said. He says, look, be careful if you're protesting. Now, if you're protesting with a group of Mexicans and it's not political, you should be okay, he said. But don't be the leader of a group. A follower is okay, but not a leader. And, of course, that's not to say that there aren't silent partners out there who are non-citizens. Maybe even some of those people are pulling the strings. But if you're a foreigner, he says, don't get involved in politics, period. Then I spoke with another friend, Alfonso. And Alfonso also is in the know. He sells lots of real estate. And he said that in the Constitution, Article 33 prohibits foreigners from protesting, but it's in regard only to some form like overthrow of the local state or federal government. Article signed under United Nations Human Rights Commissions protects free speech and rights to protest any other issues as long as it has nothing to do with the overthrow of the government. So yes, you can join a protest for animals, gay rights, environmental items, trash, etc., but no political protests. And only then, the only person that can expel a foreigner, he says, is the president of Mexico or the secretary, basically the Secretary of State in Mexico. So, all right, so there you have it from all sides. So now you're asking me, well, what do you do? Well, you figure it out. I just gave you all that stuff. Come on. No mas. No mas. All right. I got an email from listener Sonia, and Sonia writes, hello, Barry. I will be traveling to Puerto Vallarta with my boyfriend this June for a wedding. It's a short trip, June 1st through the 4th, but we'd like to see and do as much as possible. We're going to be staying at Garza Blanca Resort, close to Ms. Maloya. In order to take in everything PV, we opted out of all-inclusive deal at the resort. That said, we'll be relying heavily on public transportation to get food and to get to destinations outside of the resort, like the Malecon or Mirador Cerro de la Cruz. What time do buses start? Offering rides, and when do they stop? Also, we'd like to take an Uber from the airport to the resort. Where's the best place to request Uber near the airport? Hope to hear from you soon. Love the blog and the podcast and the websites that you provided. Saludos, Sonia. Okay, Sonia. First of all, thanks for listening. Really appreciate that. Thanks for reading the website and all that good stuff. Now, I just got back from Puerto Vallarta, so be ready. It's hot and it's humid. So make sure you got lots of cotton clothing. It's very, very necessary. And let's see what I can do to answer your questions. As far as Uber and the airport, how much, the question really is how much luggage do you have and how fit are you? Now, to take an Uber from the airport, you're going to need to get off the property of the airport, walk out of the terminal. You want to hang a left and follow the sidewalk over to the street. You can either wait under the bridge right there for your Uber ride, or right on the street side of the OXXO. There's like a little OXXO shopping convenience store there. That's where the Uber will be picking you up. And I just checked my Uber app, and the price to get you from the airport to where you're headed, Garza Blanca, is going to cost you between 175 and 200 pesos. Now, you might opt to cross the bridge and take a yellow cab, and that'll cost you about 250 pesos, more or less, to get you over there. But, of course, you'd have to cross that bridge. So up to you. You said you want to take an Uber. You want to try it. That's how it's done. Now, Garza Blanca, you guys, and it's about halfway between Puerto Vallarta and Mismaloya. Remember, they're going to try to get you to attend some sort of a timeshare presentation during your stay. So do yourselves a favor and just politely decline their offer for a presentation, okay? Enough said about that. Now, this particular resort that you're staying at straddles Highway 200, and a bus stop is right outside the hotel. So you're going to have no problem getting transportation on a bus. You'll be looking for an orange and white bus that says Mismaloya-Boca on it. It'll cost you 7.5 pesos, and you can take that right into town. They come every 15 minutes or so, and you'll take that same bus back to the resort, actually right where it's going to drop you off over on Basilio Badillo and Constitucion. Tell the driver when you get on the bus going back that you're going to be going to Garza Blanca so that he'll remember to stop there. Now, make sure, though, you keep your eyes peeled and make sure that you see, as Garza Blanca starts approaching, that you let that driver know you want to stop. Chances are they're going to stop there anyway. I mean, it's a big resort. Now, buses run, I believe, from about 7 in the morning until about 9 or 10 at night. And then after that, you're going to need to grab an Uber or a yellow cab. No problem, right? You take that from town to your resort, no problem. Now, from that corner on Basilio Badillo and Constitution, you can now walk anywhere in town. You can walk down to the Malecon or just wander up and down the streets on the south side. You can walk to the cross, of course, or you can take a bus over to Aldama, and then you take Aldama, go straight up Aldama. You could do it right from the Malecon if you wanted to. Straight up Aldama, and then when you get to Carranza, it's called Emiliano Carranza, you will see it starts to turn. That street turns, but you will notice steps and stairs going straight up from the street there. And you will see a little sign saying Mirador on it and stuff like that. You're going to go straight up those stairs, and eventually you'll get to the cross. Be careful. It's hot. It is hot, hot, hot. And that crosswalk is going to be a warm one. So go early in the morning when it's cooler. That's my suggestion to you if you're going to make that walk. Now, make sure that you have breakfast one morning at Lapa Lapa. If you want to get that wonderful Puerto Vallarta feel, get there before noon. Get yourself a table on the sand. Wear some bug spray on your legs because you never know. And then order that killer crab cake eggs Benedict. Oh, my God. Make sure that you don't miss taco stands. And there's another great breakfast that you could have over at Serrano's Meat House there. They've got chilaquiles verdes con pollo that will knock your socks off. Really, really great. And while you're sitting there and having your breakfast, you can look at the beautiful work that's being done right across the street over at Tile Park. There's also more beach dining. If you like beaches, you like to eat at the beach, Cuatecicuetes, always a great place. Very, very economical, and the service is really wonderful there at Cuatecicuetes. Food is good too. So yeah, just make sure that you get to those places for eating. And then make sure, you guys, that you call your bank before you come to Puerto Vallarta. Let them know that you're going to be using your debit card for cash withdrawals. And follow my tips all about that in my show notes. You're going to be paying for everything in pesos, remember, so be ready for that. Also, don't miss that. Now, behind Garza Blanca, behind there's a trailhead leading up to some waterfalls. They're called the Cascades, and this time of year, it's probably probably not cascading a lot, because there's been no rain since October. But ask at the desk over at the resort where the trail is, and if there is any waterfall to see. Now, there's different levels there, and the higher that you go, the more strenuous the hike is, as in straight up. but it's something that you're going to be staying there. It's a great time to go and check out these cascades. Remember also, wear your bug spray if you're going to be taking that hike. I have a link that shows you all that what I was just talking about there. Actually, we'll show you where the hike is in the show notes, so you want to check those out. And remember, of course, you want to print out JR's maps and just, have a great time, you guys. You're going to have a great time. You did the right thing by not going all-inclusive. All right. Now, speaking of letters and emails, I have a listener who is taking me to task about the report that I gave a few weeks back about carbon monoxide and about the alarms and such. But really, we're going way, way too long here. So I don't have time to address that today, but maybe next week, for sure, we'll talk about that. All right, let's get to the interviews. One afternoon, I was walking along the Malecon, not too far from the bridge, when I heard someone singing to me. So I look up and I see this guy with 3 friends sitting on the seawall over on the Malecon with their backs to the ocean, facing me. And they were all sitting behind this card table set up with these Mexican handicrafts and stuff. So I walked up, in the hope that I could get maybe some interesting audio, and I got a total surprise. So let's meet the Shoeshine guy on the Malecon right now. His name is Benjamin.
Benjamin, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from Puerto Vallarta?
No, actually, I'm from Guadalajara, but I live here for 1984, so I think I'm from here.
In 1984, Puerto Vallarta was a whole lot different, wasn't it? What was it like? Can you tell our listeners what it was like in the 80s?
It's looked totally different because in this place, you can see the bus pass over here, and we have different things. So, it's more slowly, more fun, more security and everything. Right now, we have a little more problems with the guys, sell things and over here. This is why everything changed. But in 1984, it's a more beautiful place than right now.
When you are here, you're here with some friends here. You've got your band here, and Brenda. You have Brenda here. Brenda is selling. What do you sell, Brenda?
Artesanía.
Okay, so what she has here is different kinds of souvenirs, mostly necklaces and bracelets, and they're all beautiful. Now, you were singing when I came walking up here. What do you do? You hang out and have fun, or what are you doing here?
Okay, but I like to sit down here and sing it with my friends. I sit down here, but actually my job, I'm the shoe shiner. I have my box over here. You can see. I'm the shoe shiner. That's what I do for a living. But I like to sit down here with my friend and get some good time, get fun, All
right, so when you do your shoe shining, do you do it here on the Malecon? Where do you work?
I work in everywhere in the town. I work in all the time in the street. I can working over here, working over there. So I working around the town. I don't have any place to stay, so I walking all day.
I imagine that being in the shoe shining business here in Puerto Vallarta, there's lots of dirty shoes, but most of them are sandals. I mean, how do you find guys with like real shoes that you can shine?
Because I don't clean the people coming from another country. I working for the local guys, the waiters, the guys living over here to use the shoes. Because the people come from another country always use the sandals. So this is a local. My customers always local people.
All right. So do you have any local favorite customers that you work with?
Everybody is favorite to me. I don't have different things that everybody's favorite for me.
All right, Benjamin, you can't have a favorite. I know, because then someone might say, "Well, wait, I thought you were I thought I was your favorite, Benjamin." Okay, I understand. When you have a little spare time and you're not here on the Malecon and you like to get away, get out of town, where do you like to go?
I like to go some place very special called San Sebastian. It's in the mountain. I go there with my camping house, and I go to hunting and stay there for a couple of weeks by myself, alone, smoking some weed and be happy and everything.
Oh, you're off El Campo, man. You're out in the nowhere, right? Having a good time.
Yeah, because over there you have fresh air. Nobody is there. You're by yourself, and I'm relaxed. I like to read. I like to think about my life, and I love it because it's beautiful there. You can see the mountains. You can feel the free of the life. It's not like here. You have to work every day to make some money to get something to eat. But over there, it's like, my God, I'm free. I can see and I can touch God. This is different.
It's beautiful. Well, obviously it's a different life up there, man. It sounds like paradise.
Yeah, it's like a paradise, of course. Yes, it's got to be like this. See, the day I pass away, I want to die over there by myself alone. Because I'm a free man. I'm not have no wife. I don't have no kids. I don't have no father, no mother. My mother and my father passed away when I'm 10 years old. I born here in the street all my life. So this is why I want to die over there.
Wow, that's heavy, brother. That is very heavy. Is there something that you want to tell my listeners before we go?
I want to say thank you to you because you're a very nice guy. And I want to say thanks to God to keep me alive and let me work every day and let me wake up every morning. And I want to say thank you to all my friends over here. And thanks to everybody. It's the only thing I can say.
All right, you need to look for Benjamin. Benjamin's the guy with the shoe shining box. It's black with some blue colors on the sides. I'll take a picture of it. I'll get a picture of Benjamin too, so you can say hi to him next time you see him when you're walking down the Malecon. Benjamin, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you very much to you, sir.
So how interesting is that, you guys? It seems like for the simple and, well, not so simple people of Puerto Vallarta, those mountains are the place to be. Did you hear the wistfulness in Benjamin's voice when he was talking about living off the land up in San Sebastian? Wow, he's just a simple guy. He has no home, lives on the streets, shining shoes for a living. So anyway, you want to look for him when you're on the Malecon. I got pictures of him in the show notes. I've got pictures of his shoeshine box too. And what a nice guy. I got pictures of him and his whole group. So check him out. You know, you're going to be wearing sandals. I know. You don't want him to polish your toenails, but if you have some shoes, you might want to seek him out and have him do a little work for you. What the heck? Get him up into the mountains to have a little bit of fun. Okay. Now, he also was talking about how he felt that it was a little less safe on the Malecon since they redid it. And I don't know about that. I know that he's probably referring to the salesmen that hang around near the pier that are selling quote-unquote cigars. Actually, they should be talking to the marijuana the marijuana legalization people. But anyway, I digress. If you ever walk past there and you look like me, you will be asked several times whether or not you would like to buy a cigar or a pipe or marijuana or something. I know. I'm pretty sure that I have a sign on my forehead when I walk past those guys. They all ask me. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Anyway, I like I said, I have pictures of Benjamin, so check him out. Now, I'm going to go a totally different direction now. We're going from the Shoeshine Man to somebody who I found very interesting, and I'm glad I had a chance to talk to him. Back in January, I had an interview with Federico Casco. You remember him, Freddie, the famous Freddie, the pharmacist over at Olas Altas Pharmacy. And when I asked him what his favorite place to have dinner was, he said across the street at Kaiser Maximilian, he said they got the best food. And he told me his favorite was the short rib that they had there. And well, I was pretty hungry at the time. So after I left Freddy's, I crossed the street and I went right into Kaiser Maximilian. Now, I'd never been there for dinner, but a couple of times I'd been there for coffee and dessert, sitting outside. But this was my first time inside, and I was alone, so I chose a table for two, and I had a delightful meal. Of course, I ordered the short rib, a couple other items, but it was really hard to choose because I knew I wanted the short rib because that's what Freddie said, but everything looked so good. I was looking around at everybody else's food on their plates, and plates of food were passing by me, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do? But I ordered the short rib, and it was delicious. And after dinner, and after I paid for the meal, I asked the owner, Andreas, if he would sit down with me, and I told him what I do, and asked if he would talk with me about his place. And I was delighted, of course, that he said yes. Now, he always seemed like a reserved and quiet kind of guy, and he really kind of is. But I was just so happy that he said yes. So I arranged to return later in the week, and with recorder in hand, I set up in the back of Kaiser Maximilian. And so let's go right now to 380 Olas Altas, located on the street level of the Playa Los Arcos Hotel on the south side of Puerto Vallarta. And let's have a conversation with the very interesting Andreas Rupprechter.
Hey, Andreas. Thanks for inviting me in today.
Oh, wow. Welcome, Barry. It's a real pleasure to have you tonight.
Listen, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what was your path to Puerto Vallarta?
Yeah, actually, it's a pretty long story. I am from Austria, and I was studying in France, and I met a Mexican girl, and that's the reason I came to Mexico. Very easy.
Yeah, I should say so.
Yeah, it was about 40 years ago, so imagine. I mean, no internet, still writing letters and maybe a phone call.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was really fun.
Was she from Puerto Vallarta? Or
No,
was
she's from Guadalajara, actually. So I flew into Mexico City and then into Guadalajara, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got married? Is that what happened?
Oh,
there?
yeah, we are still married, yes, definitely.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so what was your path from Mexico City to Guadalajara?
Oh, actually, it was very
I'm
short.
sorry.
Yeah, I worked in Guadalajara. My background was all the time in the restaurant and hotel business, so I worked in Guadalajara for that time, one of the good restaurants. And then I got an offer here in Puerto Vallarta as an assistant manager in the hotel, and I came to Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta at that time was really slow paradise. No traffic lights, no real good supermarket.
Yeah.
It was back to basics, but it was a beautiful experience.
Now, that was how long ago?
Yeah, that's I came in, I think, 75 or 76.
Oh, my
something
goodness.
like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
so you've been here a long time.
Yeah, I've been here for long.
Okay, and so which hotel was that?
It was called the Playa de Oro. Actually, the gentleman who owned it still is alive. He is 90 years old now, Jack Kaywood. It was a great experience. They called him the Gringo Loco. Because that time where he made the hotel, he started with 7 cabañas, and so there was no road yet to the hotel. When I came in, we had 160 rooms, and when I left, we had 310. So it was a great experience.
Wow, yeah, so that was a building experience.
Yeah.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about how you came to Kaiser Maximilian.
Yeah, what happened is I managed a couple of hotels, as I mentioned, and I opened up another one, Buenaventura, and then after that I kind of wanted to do something myself, so I decided, as I'm all the time in the business of the restaurant and food and beverage and managing, to open up my own restaurant. So I was thinking about a concept a little bit Viennese, something like that, and that's how I find the name of Maximilian. Maximilian is known by the Mexicans because he was the emperor of Mexico for 4 years.
Yes, from France.
No, he was
was-
the younger brother of the Austrian emperor Kaiser Franz Joseph. And Sisi, that story there is very famous.
Wait,
And
can
he
you tell
was
me the
younger
story?
brother. Yes, he was the younger brother, and he didn't have to say anything in Austria, so they sent him to Italy. He was in the northern part of Italy, was part of Austria, and he lived in Trieste. Actually, he made a beautiful castle there called Miramar. And then that time in Mexico there was Benito Juarez. Benito Juarez was the president of Mexico, and he ran out of money with France. He owed a lot of money to France, and he said, "Sorry, I'm broke." So the French came over.
And said,
The
well,
famous
we'll show
battle
you.
of the Cinco de Mayo,
Right.
and the Mexicans beat the French. But then the French came back with a huge army and made it Mexico. And then there were some Mexican diplomats in the government that didn't want to have a French general. So with all the relations and so far with the monarchies, they found Maximilian and asked him if he would be the emperor of Mexico. Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah, it lasted 4 years, and then he was shot.
Yeah. Was there was Carlotta and Maximilian? Is that what there was?
Yeah,
there?
Carlotta was the wife of Maximilian. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you guys didn't realize you were going to get some history here today while we're
Yeah.
talking to Andreas. Okay. So this space, how did you come into this space?
I knew very well the owner of the hotel and Playa Los Arcos, and as I was looking around, he mentioned that he would be interested in renting out his space, and I was interested in doing something new. And he's mentioned the sidewalk, that they just made it a little bit bigger, and there was some idea to do something with the sidewalk. And I said, okay, just promise me that I can do it. Because at that time, nobody had sidewalk cafes. I mean, have a table outside and have that European feeling of going around and enjoying open air restaurant now.
Wow. Okay. So that was a first in Puerto Vallarta, yeah?
Yeah, I think there was also, I think Andale also
Oh, yeah.
was the one who went with me about the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started the idea.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, lots of people, especially for breakfast, they want to pick that seat right there, right by the road, and have
Yeah,
a
that's right.
breakfast.
And now everybody liked the idea, and it's good for everybody.
Yeah. All right. Can you describe your restaurant to our listeners? I'm going to have pictures in the blog post, and you can find them on my blog post for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. But it's an audio show, so can you describe your place? to
Yeah,
people?
sure. Yeah, it's, as I mentioned, a little bit Viennese style decoration with a lot of wood, a little bit of gold and rollings, and the chairs going with it, and the decoration like a Viennese cafe. On the food, some people all the time think we have a lot of German things on the menu. Actually, we are more European with French influence, and okay, a few Viennese style plates on the menu. But otherwise, it's a mixture of Europe with the States. Kind of interesting things on the menu, and quite a big menu. And besides, we're also doing breakfast and doing great coffees and a lot of pastries.
Well, and you're doing lunch too, and
Yeah,
you're
we're
just
doing
going- you're
breakfast,
going-
lunch, and dinner.
you're going through the
Even,
day.
sandwiches for dinner, and we serve breakfast from 8 to 2, and we already start serving lunch, dinner from noon on. Yeah.
What is the favorites for breakfast that people like here?
Oh well, I do something called the Kaiser
What's that? That sounds great.
Yeah, it's an interesting name. Kaiser means emperor, And Schmarrn is a dialect expression of German, and it means the nonsense of the emperor. Probably he liked it very much. It's actually a hot cake with some berries, and it's done a little bit different way than a regular hot cake, yeah.
How about for lunch? What kind of favorites for lunch?
Lunch, it depends. If you like to do something light, we got a great Reuben sandwich. We got the chicken sandwich. We got some pasta. So you will be easily finding something for your taste. Yeah.
Excellent. And dinner. Now, when I was here for dinner the other night, Federico across the street told me, he says, one of my favorite places is to come to Kaiser Maximilian. And I said, well, what's your favorite there? And he says, the short ribs. So I ordered the short ribs. And he was right, you guys. OMG. It was so good, I got to say.
Yeah, the short ribs, we are very happy. We had a guest chef from New York. And I think it was, I hope I do right, Bradley. And from New York. And we had done short ribs before, but his recipe was just great. It's a lot of work. You have to marinate and then for 24 hours and then cook it for another 5-6 hours. And that big short rib gets very small.
Yeah, yes, it does. But you can tell that you put a whole lot of effort into that. It's just tasty with every bite. Are there any other favorites for dinner that people like?
Oh, sure. I mean, they're also like, if you like seafood, the diver scallops are really great with a little of a salad with it. Or even more European, Austrian food like a leg of veal with spätzle, a pasta made here at the restaurant very, very well. And a few appetizers like the spinach strudel or ravioli is also nice. So if you like to do more on the American side, you got the crab cakes, which are also very good.
Yeah. Wonderful menu, lots to choose from, and very varied. It's not everything. Everything is a little bit different than the other thing. It's very nice. What about desserts? I'm figuring that you probably do that
desserts
too.
is good. We got like the espresso bar. We got desserts which are very well known in Austria, the apple strudel, then a Linzer tart, or even the Sacher. And at the other side, then we have some American things like a pecan bourbon tart with vanilla ice cream, or even I learned that name. I didn't know it before. Gooey chocolate cake.
Gooey chocolate. Yeah, anything that's gooey has got to be good. It's a funny name, isn't it?
It's a funny name.
When you stand behind that bar, and now I know that you travel, you go from table to table, you are very hands-on. When you sit behind that bar and you're listening to people talking in your restaurant, what are they saying?
Oh, I mean, I come along and ask if everything worked out and if they're happy what they're having, and try to check out that everything worked out right. I think and I hope and I think that they're enjoying it now.
Yeah. No, but don't you hear them say stuff like, this is the best food I've ever had, or where have I been?
I don't make any comments on that. I mean,
oh, all right. Yeah,
that's the guest to qualify us.
I'll put it right into your mouth. I want to ask you about your chefs.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the staff. I mean, they have been with me for a long time, and we try to train them and get them better every day. They are all Mexicans, and it's nice to see. I have people who started as a dishwasher and now are great chefs. So that's really very nice to see that that progress. Yeah.
I believe that.
A lot of hard work, and even like the pastry chef, I mean, great in developing those skills and coming up really very well done. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to ask you a couple of fun little questions that I ask everybody that go on the show. If you were going to take a day trip somewhere around here, just get out of town for a day, come back in the evening, what would you do?
There are so many places.
Do you have a favorite?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I like to go to the beaches of the south. I like Las Animas, Quimixto, Yelapa, things like that if I like to do the beach. and it's nice to walk. Even you can walk from La Boca de Tomatlan to Las Animas, a very nice walk by the ocean. Otherwise, there is the mountain. I mean, you can go up to San Sebastian or Mascota, and right now Vallarta is getting a little more busy. So if you want to have a day more relaxed, I mean, that's wonderful up there. It's really great, and there are some new restaurants coming up also up there in San Sebastian, and Mascota is really nice to get that Mexican touch, and it's beautiful. But there are many other things. I mean, even just going to Guadalajara, or it's pretty close, everything around here.
Yeah, and it'll get closer when they finish that highway.
Oh, okay. I don't worry too much about finishing the highway.
I know things will change a little bit when that happens.
Yeah,
well. If you were going to give a piece of advice to a first-time visitor to Puerto Vallarta, what would you tell them?
Yeah, just I think to realize that you are in a place where it's warm and things don't go that fast. No, you have to take it a little slow on a slower pace. You know, and especially to get the idea, that if you say, okay, I see you at 7, and if you show up at 7:50, it's still okay. Don't get mad about that. I mean, really take it more easy. Just relax. I mean, sometimes things are not done on the first day, but it will happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just slow down and get into Vallarta time.
Yes, right.
Right. When you're not eating here at Kaiser Maximilian, what do you like for breakfast?
Oh, there are so many breakfast places. There is Dicredix, for example, especially on Sunday with a nice music. There is Freddy's Tucan. There's a good friend of us, also just right on Basilio Badillo. There are, my goodness, so many restaurants. Yes.
Yeah. How about for lunch?
Oh, I don't have too much time for lunch,
I was
but
going to say, you probably don't.
there is right here on the ocean, La Palapa or Vista Grill, or the nice. Oh, there is, like, for the locals more, there's one by the stadium, Ocho Tostadas, which is very nice, just for having some good seafood, very fresh, very, very local.
Is it hard to do business here in Mexico?
I would say it's not that difficult. I mean, I think it's even more easier than in some other places. I mean, everywhere you have a lot of things you have to do with the government and with taxes and so forth. But I think in general it's not that difficult.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen. Am I leaving anything out? Is there anything that we haven't discussed that maybe you'd like to touch base on?
No, I think that's fine. Vallarta is a really nice spot. I mean, especially in the winter with the climate, it's really perfect. I mean, every day sunshine. Where do you have that? I mean, it's out of question. It's really, really great, and it's a great place for people to retire, especially from the States, because the cost of living is still much lower, and you have so many options right now. Vallarta offers so many things. I mean, you can have a taco, and you can have a great restaurant, and whatever you like to do. You can get a beautiful condo or just have a nice small room, whatever you like to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Where do people find you? Where are you located?
We are located in La Zona Romantica, which is downtown south of Puerto Vallarta, on Olas Alta Street, at outside of the Hotel Playa Los Arcos. It's a very active area right now. A lot of condominiums, and a lot of people like to spend 3-4 months here because they just walk out and have everything around them, from restaurants, shops, and even a hospital, just in case.
Yeah, just in case, yeah. You online, you have a website or Facebook? Or?
Yeah, well, our website is like the name of the restaurant, www.kaisermaximilian.com, and there you got blogs and Facebook and everything on it. So,
do people need to make reservations at night?
Yeah, I got wonderful backup with Open Table, so you can use your cell phone and make it through Open Table, or you can call us by the phone, and we are here the whole day. We're open from Monday to Saturday. We are closed on Sundays. Yes.
Okay. And
One of those
what time
lazy
you open?
ones.
What time you open in the morning?
8 o'clock in the morning till 11 at night.
Right. Those guys, they're here all the time, you guys. And I just want to thank Andreas for letting me sit with you and introduce you and Kaiser Maximilian to my audience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Andreas. You know, he really takes care of his clients and his staff too. And the service is always top-notch. The food, like I said before, just so, so good. I have links to their Facebook page and to their website. I've got their phone number, I got a map, everything, so you'll be able to find them. Got pictures of their food. You're going to love it. Check it out in the show notes for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. And of course, you can find them right there in first floor of Playa Los Arcos Hotel on Olas Altas. On that Olas Altas side, not on the beach side, you will find this wonderful restaurant. All right, so that should do it for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. Next week, please stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition, my friends. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying, thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so just do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And don't forget, we've got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. So I have links of those, all of those things in the show notes, all over my website, actually, so don't miss it. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe, and then give me a good review on iTunes, if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do that with every episode I create. Go to my website. You really need to have a look there. I have links to places that we talk about. I have interesting pictures and more right there in the blog posts and in the show notes for each and every episode that I create. So check them out for sure if you haven't already, all right? All right. So thank you, Andreas Rupprechter. Thanks for inviting us into your restaurant, Kaiser Maximilian. And remember, next time you come to Puerto Vallarta, they're open for breakfast, they're open for lunch, and they're open for dinner 6 days a week. Until late, by the way. And just remember, they're closed on Sundays. Don't be disappointed if they're any other day of the week for sure. Anyway, check them out for a meal or a tasty dessert. Go on, have a seat outside over there on Olas Altas, over on the sidewalk cafe there. Just, it's a great experience, really. I have pictures of the restaurant, of the food, and of Andreas. And of course, I have pictures of Benjamin. Let's not forget Benjamin, the Shoeshine Man. I have pictures of him and his friends right there on the Malecon in the show notes, so check them out too. All right. Well, and remember, say hello to both of them next time you see them, okay? Thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this very, very special episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. camino eterno por la playa. Me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.